Okay, the podcast National gets its best poll result in months, well, certainly this year anyway, and the left collapses. Te Pāti Māori takes a hammering and is down all the way to 1%. I'll make a bold prediction shortly. It's a cracker poll. It saves Luxon's backside when he needed it to, didn't it? And Chris Ipkin's support parties take a bath. Well, if only they would. Let's go.
Are we paying these people to front up, or are we paying them to fly to Wellington to eat their lunch? Should you really lose your career for refusing to take part in a 90-minute lesson about Māori culture? This government doesn't actually have any idea how to get economic growth. Show us what you made of, Prime Minister.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan, Garner.
Okay, g'day, good evening. Welcome to the Editor-in-Chief. I'm Duncan, Garner. Nice to have you along. Please subscribe. You can text my name, Duncan, to 3598. And I'll flick you a link and you pay $7.99 a month for the extra content on a Friday. And that way you support Team Duncan. It's a movement and we take on the other media. Without your support, we wouldn't be here, so thank you. It's the poll that shows us the country perhaps is turning the corner and perhaps is getting back in behind this government and is willing to give them a second chance and a second term. And perhaps you can say National is benefiting from a perhaps far more optimistic outlook from voters. Certainly the economic optimism is returning. And a series of announcements from Christopher Luxon and National have helped the party after a pretty lacklustre year. Why has he taken so long to do something of substance? If he'd done this a bit earlier, it might have been more useful. And finally, the woeful left are taking a hammering. Annihilation to Pāti Māori is unelectable. And voters are telling them that. And if you can't get your own house in order, how do you expect people to support you? With the economy coming back, the Greens dropped 4 points with voters saying, stick your transformation. We don't want $88 billion in new taxes. We don't like your inheritance. We don't like your inheritance tax. Grow up and save the planet. That's what they're saying. So is it all good news for Christopher Luxon? Not entirely, but it couldn't be much worse for the Greens and Te Pāti Māori. Personally, they have had poor runs, and this time I'm surprised it didn't come sooner. Actually, I'm surprised that this drop didn't come sooner. David Farrar, the pollster, the best in New Zealand, will join me very shortly. Let's go.
It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, it's the One News variant poll, and the media, I think, read the poll wrong. Well, certainly have a quick look at this. This is Mikey Sherman. Having to say that National's doing well.
Here are the numbers. National is up a jolly 2 points to 36%. Labour is up a very merry 3 points, now on 35%. It's also good news for ACT, up 2 points on 10%, now back ahead of New Zealand First, which is steady on 9%. But here's the headline. The Greens take a whopping 4-point drop. The party now on 7%. And having expelled 2 MPs, it's a 2-point drop for Te Pāti Māori, now sitting on just 1%.
Is that a grimace? That's not happy. They all honed in on the fact and made a really big play about the preferred Prime Minister scoreboard with Chris Bishop, the National Minister, who usually keeps his head down, his leadership ambitions contained, is now clocking in there at a mighty 2%. Yep, 2%. In a week of coup whispers and backbench grumbling and Chinese whispers, it doesn't take much to get people backing Bishop because he may be the last name they heard. So the media went off and talked about that as the angle. Bishop being on the preferred PM ranking wasn't the angle. The really significant story is the total collapse of Te Pāti Māori. In fact, voters have walked away from Te Pāti Māori, a stampede or hiko in the wrong direction, and they now face electoral annihilation. I predict the party might only win one seat. If that, they'll be out on their ear. Gone. And when former leader Turinor Flavel wouldn't attend the party's AGM this past weekend because he was over it and saddened, then that told us everything. What a fall from grace under the leadership of Party President John Tamahedi. 6 MPs could become none in the space of 3 years from hell. 2 MPs were expelled, one came back on a court judgment, the other stayed out, another wants to join them. It's a disaster. The co-leaders are yet to realise their lack of humility and overt racism turned Kiwis off years ago. No one likes them. And most Kiwis say, good riddance, take your racist bile elsewhere. If you want a race war, find someone else to go up against, because we don't want your nasty division. Under MMP, it makes it so much harder for Labour to govern without Te Pāti Māori, because the advantage returns to National. Tariana Turia's hard work out the door. Only outdone by the worst performer of the year, John Tamahedi, who took a movement to its knees in the space of 1 year. Well done, John. National strategists are well aware what it means if Te Pāti Māori are booted out. And they've brought this on themselves with woeful leadership, with an arrogant boffer boy approach which saw them make hay on social media. It saw them strut around. They plastered themselves all over social media like desperate teenagers claiming to be influencers. But in short, they got stuck in front of the full-length mirror admiring the view. And everyone looked back and said, no. So, yes, Bishop's on the leadership scoreboard, but the left's demise, handing Luxon a strong lead, is the real story to win the polling year. Luxon's up 2 points to 23, Hipkins up 3 to 21, and Bishop stinking in like a hungry cat at 2%. That's not the story. There's no coup. That's a warning shot. And look at the party numbers. This is where it gets spicy. This is what Mikey Schumann hated. National hits 36%, their best since April. Labour fires back with 35, also their best in over a year. This thing's now a knife fight in a phone booth, isn't it? Axe on 10, Winston's bolted himself to 9. And the Greens down to 7. Yikes, a drop of 4. That's not a dip, it's a faceplant. I feel like the Greens have drifted far from their high tide environmental mark, and they just wish they were the Māori party. High taxes, agree with nothing the government does, unwind everything at great cost and out of touch with middle New Zealand. But the wooden spoon goes to Te Pāti Māori, collapsing to 1%, their worst result in 5 years. Internal warfare will do that. It's a political circus without the popcorn. National, ACT, New Zealand First, they all walk away with 67 seats. Comfortable, solid, that kind of margin that lets Luxon sleep at night. He can let his hair down. Yep, and this poll puts to bed any leadership talk. Luxon says, it's not about me, come on, it's always about you, mate, you're the leader. Everything in politics is about you until the day your party decides it's no longer about you. So yes, Bishop at 2%, who cares, means nothing. Luxon should be firmly focused on the economy and turning it around. Good signs in this poll for him around the economy. He needs to double down now. National talking about changing their leader is counterproductive and a waste of time now. They're sitting in pole position, they've got to hold it.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Right, pollster David Farrar, the best pollster in the country, perhaps the world. He joins me now. David, g'day.
Good to be here. Don't tell Mark text or that.
Yeah, no, I get a bit of hyperbole at this time of year. Gets a bit excited. Anyway, what a poll, a one-news poll. And National will be pleased about this because they have trudged along all year and haven't had any reward. And finally, they're seeing just some green shoots come through. Yeah, sure, Labour's up as well, but a strong result for National.
Yeah, look, it's a great result for National in that poll. In fact, it projects they'd get 57 seats. That's what they got. National, ACT, New Zealand First combined theirs at the last election. So 2 years in to get a result saying you'd actually get the same as at the election, you'd have to be pretty happy, especially that the polls this year have been far more mixed. They've shown half of them around National would squeak in, half Labour might squeak in. This is the first poll for a while that shows a big majority.
Yeah, and that's because of the annihilation of the left. I mean, the Greens and especially Te Pāti Māori's collapse is, well, they have grabbed a certain defeat from the jaws of victory because these guys started the year so strongly, and then look at it. I mean, Tamahe's overseen the demise of a party in many ways, if you look at that poll.
Yeah, look, I think there's two really interesting parts to the poll. One is the collapse of the Greens and Te Pāti Māori, but the other, which media haven't focused on as much, is economic optimism.
Yeah.
That moved in just 6 weeks a net 15%.
Yeah.
So I think that is important. I think we talked about green shoots in the economy. I think the economy may be turning a corner, and that's going to be pretty critical to the government. Is economic confidence. But combined with that, I mean, Te Pāti Māori is quite bizarre. They won this by-election. They thrashed Labour. They thrashed Pini Hinari. And then it turns out they're trying to kick out a third of their own caucus. The other two backbench MPs seem to be siding with the rebels. It's gone to court. And there's going to be two big winners from this, Labour and National. Labour now, I think, will pick up at least 2 of those Māori seats, because if you've got the current MP standing plus a Te Pāti Māori candidate, Labour come through the middle, they could actually win up to 6 of the 7 seats, I think. But also that's good for National, because the fewer seats Te Pāti Māori have, they don't get overhang, and that actually helps the centre-right.
It really does. It means that they have to get to 63 or 62. They can govern at 61.
61's a majority if there's no overhang.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a much more comfortable way to get there too, isn't it? They don't rely on the Peter Dunns and so forth, an extra seat they keep looking for. So with that, it is a stunning result really, and big for National, because they have struggled, and Luxon struggled personally. And you look at it, he's talked about KiwiSaver, he's been the RMA stuff. Yeah, there's been a bit of leadership stuff there, but no one's taken that too seriously. And Bishop being at 2%, well, that's because his name was recognisable to people. I don't see that as the angle of the story like some of the media did. The angle is the demise of the left and the rise of National, because this is the best poll this year.
It is. Now, it is only one poll. As always, I say, so look at the average of all the polls and look at the trend. But I think what you're seeing is, if you're the government, is this is the start of the recovery trend, both economically and politically.
Yeah, that's what I've said as well. I think it's a really crucial poll because they can look at it, point their finger at this next year and say, this is when things started to turn. This is when the country realised that maybe the strategy about saying Labour, Greens and Te Pāti Māori, the Te Pāti Māori stuff, I know we live and breathe this stuff, so we see it all the time, but it might take a few months for people to see the demise of the Māori Party and so forth. People are so busy in their lives, David, they don't see what we see sometimes, right?
Well, I'll also tell you something, Duncan, that is technically embargoed till tomorrow, but I can reveal this part. In my latest poll, we asked people about the Te Pāti Māori co-leaders. And not surprisingly, overall, they're unpopular. Normally, though, you're popular with your own side of politics, but unpopular with the other. So if you ask national voters, what do you think of David Seymour and Winston Peters? They say we like them. Not as much as they like Luxon, but they like them. Ask Labour voters, what do you think of Te Pāti Māori co-leaders? They really dislike them. Even Green Party voters do not like the Te Pāti Māori co-leaders. And that's going to be a real problem for them because no poll shows they can govern without them, but their own voters really do not like them. And again, that's quite different on the centre-right, where the three coalition partners all actually quite like each other in terms of their voters.
I think Māori voters, and it's very hard to pick, and we've all been surprised over the decades with what Māori voters do, with the Type 5 and everything. I reckon they'll be wiped. From the Parliament because people just hate division, and this is really confusing and complex division. You got parties split here and there, and Tamahiri and everything. So I wonder if Māori voters would go in there and look at an insurance policy and tick Labour.
I think they'll get at least one seat. I think Rawiri Waititi has a huge majority in his seat.
Yeah.
I'd be very surprised there. But look, not only could they lose to Labour, the two other backbench MPs may depart in the next few weeks. I'm told on very reliable grounds that Garner is consulting her electorate on whether to stay. And the new MP is already chatting to the Greens, and I think they've become her backup option because the backstory to Te Pāti Māori is actually all four, including Tasha before she died, backbench MPs were not happy with the co-leaders. And they raised their concerns, and basically Tamahiri and the co-leaders are trying to throw them out.
Yeah, they saw it as a challenge to their authority, and so it was what a disgrace.
But this is politics.
I know it's politics.
MPs are allowed to say we think we'd make a better leader.
Well, that's what they do. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But I don't think there'll be many New Zealanders that have much sympathy for Te Pāti Māori. They've been aggressive, they've been belligerent, they've been racist in my view in many ways, and they've been unkind and nasty and toxic in many ways in that Parliament.
And they don't turn up to Parliament.
And good riddance, yeah. So I don't know, call it race or whatever it is, but as a group of people, they have been unsightly, and they've been nasty, and they've been unwelcome, and they haven't played by any of the rules.
And that's not how they used to be, as you will remember. Sharples and Turia were two of the nicest people,
great people.
Very staunch on their principles.
Yep.
But they were like, we just want to get some runs on the board
Correct.
to help Māori, and we'll work with anyone.
Yep.
While the current leadership has taken them down this very angry path.
Yeah, I agree. And so for Luxon, if there was any talk about his leadership, and apparently there was, that's well and truly put to bed with this result, isn't it? I mean, you would not remove this guy now.
No, this poll, not that I think there was ever going to be a change, but this poll just means it would be silly to be talking about anything other than the economy, the government's achievements. If anything, I don't want to overstate it, but might actually put a bit of acid on the other side, because when you saw the reaction to this poll, a few on the left sort of cling to, actually it's not a centre-right majority, Winston will hold the balance of power and he might go with Labour.
Get real.
I think very, very unlikely, but Winston has said he hasn't ruled Labour out, he's ruled out Hipkins.
Yeah.
So if you get a couple more polls like this, will Labour start to say, well, shit, we need to have New Zealand first, at least as a possibility?
Hipkins.
Yeah, I mean, I think either major party would be mad to change their leaders. You don't do it less than 12 months from an election. You make your best shot. But yeah, MPs can get stupid.
Yeah, they can, but you'd have to be mad to get rid of Hipkins because he's got them to where they are now. He lost the election, he's still there, so there's a big win. And the fact is, there's no guarantee that Winston would do business anyway with them. So I mean, so let's say they get rid of Hipkins, and then Winston goes with National. That was a waste of time, wasn't it? You know,
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right there. It would be pretty stupid and desperate.
Yeah. Before we sum things up, what about one prediction for next year? Have you got one?
Well, I've already given you one. I think Te Pāti Māori will win between 1 and 4 seats. I can't see them holding all 6. And I think Winston will get a double-figure result. He only got 6% last time.
Yeah.
But I think he's looking good for double figures. And this is very unusual. He was in government 96 to 99. You know what happened there?
I do. I was there.
They crashed and burned. Their vote dropped by 2/3. 05 to 08, crashed and burned out of Parliament. 17 to 20, crashed and burned.
Yeah.
So 3 governments in a row, Winston has crashed and burned. This time, he's not only above the 5% threshold, he's consistently polling 8 or 9%.
Yeah, it's
and
unusual.
That's very rare for a party in government that's a minor party. So he knows how to keep his turf and appeal. And that will be the big thing I'll be looking for is, does he get 10, 12, even 15?
Yeah, I see. At 15, you're talking the best result ever because in 96, from memory, it was 13%, 17 MPs. You remember that? We were both there at the time, and so 13%. There was quite a good vote, but it was a very different time in MMP then as well. It was new and it was very prescriptive coalition agreement. Remember that? And every media was running around. Is this a coalition breakup? And you know, we were all a bit naive around it, weren't we?
And also Winston may be able to appeal a bit to both sides. Look, I think he will go with a National League government again if it's feasible. So
of course,
people on the centre-right can vote for Winston thinking, yeah, he'll keep the government in. But also, though, if a Labour-led government looks feasible, then would he do a deal with Labour not to put them into government, but to save them from having to rely on Te Pāti Māori?
Yeah.
And yes, that's quite possible too. So he could actually appeal to both national voters who think they're a bit soft on treaty, but also Labour voters on the vote for me, I'll save Labour from Te Pāti Māori.
Yeah, and I will weaken the Greens' influence. They'll be nowhere near it because we can do this together, so we'll keep the Greens out of it. And I've saved you from their far disastrous left and all those big taxes. So it's a pretty strong, for an 80-year-old man, after 40 years in the place, we've written him off 3 or 4 times. It's not a bad position. Could he share the Prime Minister's role with Christopher Luxon if he got like a 20%?
Oh, at 20, then the other party would be at 20, but I don't think that's going to happen, no. Windsor would love to be co-prime minister. His best bet was really, having a pregnant prime minister, so he got to be acting for 6 or 8 weeks.
That's
right. So maybe I have to be a bit careful here, but if in the next term Erica or Nicola became prime minister, and I probably, like I say, I'm not suggesting either of them are likely to have more children, etc. But that's probably Winston's only path to.
They might. And maybe by then the Greens have had some influence, and men are having children by then. You never know.
Well, actually, to be fair, you could make the case that if a male prime minister's partner gets children, maybe the male prime minister should take 8 weeks off too. So, Christopher and Amanda, give Winston a go.
Exactly. Yeah, I can just see Christopher at home doing that. Hey, David, Merry Christmas. All the best, mate. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, that is us, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate your loyalty. You can subscribe. Text my name, Duncan, to 3598. We'll flick you the link, and that way you support us. $7.99 a month. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Helps us stay here. Thank you. Lockie, Brody, the boys putting this together. I really appreciate it. Life's no dress rehearsal. No curtain raiser. This is it. We live in one of the best places on earth, so get out and damn enjoy it. So hot right now. Go and enjoy it. Have fun, folks. Ta-da.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.